If you telling me that you've had X amount of sexual partners, I can probably assume there's a mindset that goes along with you being able to build up this many sexual partners. That probably leads back to your standards. That probably leads back to your morals. That probably leads back to your upbringing. That probably leads back to your friend groups. It leads back to where your environments are and where you've been in life. So much is connected to that. So it's not necessarily just a number.
So what does your body count say about your upbringing, your morals, your background, and your decision?
So see, that's a 100% great questions, because as men,
you've been married for 40 plus years now.
30.
34? 34 years.
I was married in 89.
I mean, listen.
You do the math.
Enough years to be as credible as they come.
As credible.
Now, when you initially got married, you see it as a forever thing?
Yes, absolutely. Both of us did.
Okay.
We went off on vacation, and he never really proposed to me. We took a trip to St. Croix, and we sat on the beach. He said, now look, I ain't getting married again. You ain't getting married again. This is what I'm looking to do. This is what I need. This is what I feel. And then he said, I need us to go to marriage counseling. So we did. We did 6 months of marriage counseling before we got married so we could see where all the problems would be. Boyfriend was accurate, too. We had everyone he said we were going to have. But since we did the prep work, we got through it.
And when you go through, you experiencing this 30 some odd years of marriage, you're going to have issues. I'm sure some of the similar issues that you actually, presided over during your career. I mean, is it possible, or I guess, did you ever come to a point where divorce was potentially an option or something that you actually seriously considered?
2 or 3 times. I think year 7 was funky, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. Everybody was under a lot of pressure. We have 4 kids, teenage boys in the house. I had another kid. I was running for judge, and there was a lot of pressure, and there was a lot going on. He had his own business, and having your own business, he was there from the morning till 11 o'clock at night. So I felt like a single woman with his kids and my new kid and my job and my campaign. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
It was a lot. And you choose to get angry with the nearest person because he's the one that didn't put the dishes up. It's not the rest of it. And then in year 17 and 18, I would have sold you to him, to a woman, for $1, and she might have got some change. We hated each other. I mean, we had moved. We did do nothing but fight. I mean, nothing. And what I had decided to do, which is what I call the false okay, I thought, because we were under a lot of pressure, and I moved and doing a TV show, which I had never intended to do, and I'm an introvert, and I was doing all these extroverted things, and he left his whole business in Cleveland. And now he's out here in Phoenix looking at me like, I'm out here for you, now what? That kind of thing. He didn't see it. We didn't see it that way, but all of that was happening. And I thought the best way to handle that was to say yes to everything. I want to do that. Yes, no, yes, okay, baby, anything you want, anything you want, anything you want, anything you want, anything you want. That made that man so mad because he married a strong, intelligent, decisive woman. And all of a sudden, I got him halfway across the country, and I decided not to think. And he didn't understand that's what was happening. I didn't realize it until one day it was my birthday. And I was trying desperately to find a restaurant he would like on my birthday because it was all about pleasing him. And I showed him this restaurant. He said, I don't want to go there. And I thought, yeah, but it's October 25th. At 364 other days of the year, he can do anything he wants. But this one is mine. And then I had to figure out what was wrong. And then I figured out what was.
So let me ask you this, because a lot of people now wouldn't have made it through what you guys made it through. I hear a lot of people even say, don't be in a relationship where you're not happy. That's not something that you should do. And to some extent, it is a thin line between fighting for your marriage and just being unhappy, right? So when you're going through that level of unhappiness, and even some sense that level of misery, how do what's going on in your mind? How do you stay focused on working through this and not just calling it quits?
I called my mother, and uh, I was regaling her with all of his sins, and there were many. And she said, "I'm gonna tell you what to do. I told you what to do last time. I told you what to do the time before that. I'm gonna tell you one last time. But if you don't do it, don't call me no more, because you can't stay mad and stay married. And I ain't taking nary one of these phone calls again. Are you going to do what I tell you to do? Yes, ma'am. This is what you need to do. You need to change." And I said, "But he's wrong. He didn't want to go to where I wanted to go. I don't care. He's not going to change. You change. And then when you change, he'll have to change, because he's got a different check." And so I changed. I stopped. She said, "Don't get mad. Be serious." And then started making decisions. And he was like, "Oh, this is the chick I married. The one who has, baby, we ought to do this. Yeah, baby, that's a good idea." He got his old wife back. And it took 18 months, but we did it. But if you're unhappy, most people are always pointing at their partner and saying what they're doing wrong. They're irrelevant. What you have to do is change in order to inspire change in them. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they feel like, if I'm right, how come I got to change? And you got to change because you ain't happy. That doesn't mean do what he says or do what she says. Change how you are conducting business. And you keep changing until you find something that works. Do everything that makes sense to you first. And if everything that makes sense to you don't work, try something that don't make a lot of sense. See what happens.
Let me tell you something. That was such game right there. And I'm going to be honest with you. I think one of the biggest things that we can't miss out there, out of that whole story, was that you had wise counsel.
Yeah.
And thankfully, you had a mother that you can call to be able to put you on game and give you some genuine, not coming from a place of spite, not coming from any dark place, but gave you some genuine game for you to actually apply and get results from. Do you think a lot of women have that?
I think I hit the maternal lotto. I think I got the best woman ever to hit the planet. I mean, that you can never convince me of that otherwise. But she didn't want me to marry him because he had 4 kids and he was just divorced.
Well, I can see that.
And, I'm a Harvard graduate, nice looking, I'm a lawyer, and they wanted me to marry a doc. He was an accountant with his own firm, so he was fighting and struggling with them 4 kids and all that kind of stuff. And my mother was like, "Oh, Mary." And I married him. And the next day, "What you need?" She said, "Because the destination has always been happy. I want you to be happy. I didn't want you to get on this ship, but it's the one you're on. So I'm going to help you paddle. Even if it's not the ship I chose for you, because it's the one you chose." And she helped us all the way through.
That's unconditional support right there.
Unconditional. Unconditional.
And was mom also married?
36 years. She buried him. Forever and ever.
And I know from checking out your book, the book is Your Mother's Rules.
My Mother's Rules, yep.
Yeah. And you talk about, your mom pretty much being an emotional genius.
Yes.
So, when you growing up and, you see her experience these ups and downs in her relationship, was there anything, that she taught you then, like in the midst of the things that she was going through with your father?
We did a lot of just trying to survive back then.
Okay.
but she was always an instructor. And she would take, I remember one time we were on Livingston Avenue and Haddon Road, and we were waiting for a light. I was about 13, and we had seen something, and I can't remember what it was. And she said, you know, Lynn, sex speaks to men differently than it does to us. It is, it's such a basic raw hunger for them that even men that you trust will touch you inappropriately. That was her telling me. If anybody ever does anything, tell me. Because it's always a secret. Wow. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of women who have been, molested as young people.
Many.
I mean, many.
Mm-hmm.
And molested as young people. But she didn't. That was the seed she planted. I understand. I want you to be aware. You can tell me. That's who she was. She would take anything that she was presented and instruct us with it. You know?
Let me ask you this one here too, Judge Lane, because I'm sure what you've seen a lot of, because first of all, divorce court was just always in the house, just kind of playing. And a lot of things I would always hear on many shows was infidelity, right? That happens. That's just a part of nature with being in a relationship for years, right? I want to know how how should we handle that issue, right? Because being that infidelity realistically it's a common issue in relationships. It's a very common issue. And I mean, we just can't be instructing people to just go about divorcing every time infidelity comes up in a relationship, because we're going to continue to have the problems that we have now. How should we be handling infidelity as it arrives in our relationships?
That's a very good question, that the answer to which I'm not sure I am of the proper age to give. Back in the day, when my parents were raising us and stuff, there was a phrase known as, yeah, he tips a little. And the thing was, they were all married. If you were a dude in the 50s living in that house, you were bad at it. You know what I mean? You were. Right. No retiring cat made it out there. And every once in a while, and it was common knowledge amongst the women, and they kind of let it happen until they stop. Doesn't happen a lot. And the dudes kind of knew, I can tip a little, but I don't do nothing disrespectful. I don't get caught. Now, these days, that wouldn't sell. Women ain't going to do that.
Right.
That just wouldn't sell. But they were fighting so many fights in the 50s, in the 60s, that they had to stay together. They had to make it work. And y'all want so much more sex than we do. I don't know. Maybe it's different now. Young women saying they like the one.
That's what they're saying.
I don't believe it either.
I think it's emotional baggage and stress that's causing them to say stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't believe that. If my husband were to ever have cheated, I don't think I would have left. We would have had issues. We would have gone to a counselor. But I can't let. Now, if he's just a repeater, just a traveler, he's just screwing everything that happens to walk by, right. He got to go bye-bye.
Right.
But he makes a mistake, I would hope that I was woman enough to weigh it. Not say it's okay, but get through it. When the situation is reversed, y'all never get over it.
Oh, yeah.
But that's just how y'all are. But y'all never get over it, and I know that. So I don't do nothing. You know what I mean? I don't care how fine you are or whatever, and I'm away from him for months. I got something so good. Ain't no sex. I don't care how you can rock it. Will get me to endanger this beautiful thing I got over here. Can't do it.
Now, they also say in that same conversation, because, you hear this conversation all the time. They say, men cheat, it's not emotions involved. When women cheat, it's always emotional. That's why women cheat is worse than men. Do you think there's any truth to that, or
Some, I mean, it's some. We want to talk. I always talk on TV about men in marriages. I want more sex. I want more sex. I want more sex, and she ought to do it. She ought to do it. I said, nah, wait a minute now. I said, all day foreplay takes 5 minutes. Call her once on the job. Didn't have to call her. Hey, baby, thinking about you. Come home, kiss her on the neck, lick her.
Yeah.
And then they get behind her, shake her butt, and ask her what happened. You're gonna get laid. Now,
that takes work.
That takes work, but it's only 5 minutes worth.
That's true.
It's not that much. And we want to be heard. We want you to think we're wonderful. And if you give us that, we'll give you more. Because we just love you. You know what I mean? This guy. And when we start seeing as you treat me any old way all day long, and then you expect me to join my body with yours because it's my job, brother, please. Just 5 minutes. I ain't worth that. So, the sex drives are different. I mean, he's always wanted more than I have. But we figured it out how to, and he knows what makes me feel warm and fuzzy. You make me feel warm and fuzzy. I'll make you feel warm and fuzzy.
I think that's a really good formula for men to get what they want from their woman. So I want to talk because, just being here sitting with you, I could imagine you don't have any issue getting what you want from your man, right? Even sitting here now, I'm like, you want some coffee? What you want me to fluff the pillows? What you need, right? But I think modern women do have an issue, and it seems like they have found a way to get what they want from men. The number one thing being attention, but the way they are attracting this attention and getting this attention is a lot of it through being scantily clad and presenting themselves very sexually online. So I want to speak to the women who are on that end of the spectrum. What are some things outside of just being overly sexualized can a woman do in her relationship, or if she's seeking just some attention or some things from a man? What are some things that she can do that are not sexual?
So many people are supporting their adrenals and thyroid, or perhaps
seeking just some attention or some things from a man. What are some things that she can do that are not sexual?
Here's what I would say. Stop thinking about it as what can I do for a man that is not sexual, that's attractive. What I say is, who are you? And what do you like? I pay enough attention to who you are and what you like. Oh, he likes this. Then I do that. He likes this other thing. He likes a deep conversation about politics. Okay. He likes such and such. I know what my husband likes and doesn't like, and I feed his need. I don't feed a male need.
Ooh.
Damn.
I get that. And if you operate with that specificity.
But people don't do that. Right. They're out there with the resume. 6 figures, you got to be over 6 feet, and blah, 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 blah. Ain't none of that. None of that. It's like, who is he? What's he need? What's he want? Do I like what he needs and want? Go ahead and give it to him. And get joy out of giving it to him. Because it's fun to feed somebody you love. Whether you're feeding them conversation, whether you're feeding them, excitement and whatever it is. But focus on that cat and let him know you know him, as opposed to how do I get men in general. Because I was like the world's worst girlfriend. I didn't give a what oh, you want to go to Italian? I want to go to Chinese. Let's break up. Right. Like they were like, I'm on this path, and brother, you want to come, you can come. But how I knew he was the one was that's what he wants to do. I'm gonna go do that with him. I didn't want to leave just because he wasn't doing what I wanted to do.
What made you, and was it that strength that you saw in him that made you want to, pretty much do what he wanted, or were you in a different time in your life, or was it
strong, silent type? Just loved it. My father was very, very, he was mentally ill. He was mercurial, and it was, stuff popping off all the time. This dude, steady. And it was funny because the other dude that he was with was unmarried, and he called me first. After I went to the Cavs game, remember I told you I married my husband. I met him at a Cavs game, and he was with his buddy, and his buddy called, and I was like, dang. And his buddy was like, they both good looking. But the buddy was, he was sexy. He was a player. And I was like, I don't want that one. My husband had his jeans rolled up, all goofy looking. That's the brother I want and don't care. You know what I mean? Like, he is so bad. He's like Michael Jackson.
Right.
He put on white socks because he's Michael Jackson. He made it cool because he had it on. And it took him 3 weeks to call me. And after a couple of years, I said, how come it took you so long? I thought you and Huggins decided, oh, you can chase her. I'm done. He said, nah. He said, because I knew if I went for you, you were serious or nothing. And I needed to know I was ready for serious. So that's what took me so long. I was like, oh, I got the right guy.
Right.
It's funny. Me and Ryan be talking. There's some women that we be like, no, we can't rock with her right now. That's gonna have to be a wife. We gotta be
right. Yeah, you gotta get exactly.
Yeah, we gotta be ready to take that one on for the long haul.
And it's very much so about how that woman presents herself too.
Absolutely.
Very much so, and in the communication, the conversation that you have. And it's funny, Judge, how you talked about finding out what your specific man wants. And it just reminds me of this was maybe like 6 years ago. I was dating a young lady and was with her family for Christmas, and her mom pulled out like this. I think it was like a 12-pack of these beers, and she mentioned when she's getting ready to put them on the counter, she mentioned how much she loved them. And the young lady I was dating at the time was, called her out in front of everybody. It's like, you don't love those. You just say you like whatever my dad likes. And she was kind of upset. Like the young lady I was dating said it in this way that was kind of like this disappointing way. Like you don't do what's for you. You do it because he likes it. And she looked at her and was just like, there's some things that we got to talk about that you just don't understand. And I didn't really understand that until later. What that meant, it just meant, this my man likes this. He likes it. I like this. So tonight we drinking this damn 6-pack.
Let me give you a good example. For example, I told y'all my mom got remarried. Mr. Lonnie, his name. He loves some football. Let me tell you, college sports, NFL. He knows. We could call him right now, figure out what's the NFC East standings.
And he knows.
He's like, I'm telling you, he knows everything about it. Let me tell you, my mom all of a sudden, she know football better than me. My mom is a Georgia Bulldogs fan. She got gear. She know when the game's going on. My mom literally has become a football fanatic. But it makes sense because that's how they connect.
But somebody who doesn't understand men, or that men would appreciate that level of consideration, would say like she's not being genuine to herself.
Right. Anyone who doesn't understand people would say she's not being genuine to herself. If I love somebody, out of all the billions of cats on this world, I pick that one. And if I'm not willing to do things for him that were not necessarily right down the middle for me, why'd I marry him? I married him to change everything, my status and all this kind of stuff. I know what a balk is in baseball because he loves baseball. I couldn't care. I think that's the dullest game ever. But we will sit at the thing. I'll eat hot dogs. You can buy a drink. Every once in a while, I learn not to ask too many questions because you become a mention. They don't want to be bothered.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Don't ask too many. Learn on your own. But I feel that's the baseball. It's like, and he's like, he is happy, and he does the same thing for me. Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So what's going on with y'all? I mean, what's happening with the women down here? You must be doing all right. What are you finding? What are you seeing? What are you liking? What are you not liking?
I'll let Tashawn. I'll let him take that one down first.
It's funny because a lot of it, before I even jump to the ladies, I'm going to start with myself.
Okay.
Because mainly, much of it has been me identifying what I want.
Okay.
Right? Because I think that's the most important thing. Because as long as I make a decision regardless of all what's happening with the women out here, I truly believe that as soon as I make the decision to find a wife, I'm gonna find her very easily.
Right.
And I've dated women that have that potential, but the question is this something that I want to commit and pursue? Because I remember one of my mentors told me this. I asked him, "How do I know I'm ready for marriage?" And he asked me. He had a real, Socratic approach to the answer. He said, "Okay." He said, "Do you have problems that occur in your business?" I said, "Of course I do." He said, "What do you do when it happens?" I said, "I solve it." He said, "What do you do when the solution you came up with doesn't work?" He said, "I create another one." He said, "What if that doesn't work?" He said, I'm gonna figure it out." He said, "Are you ever gonna throw the business away?" I said, "I mean, that's not even an option. I gotta figure this out. This is how I feed myself. There's no option to throw it away." He said, "What happens when a problem occurs in your relationship with a young lady?" I said, "Honestly, I think I probably need to get rid of this so I can lighten up the load."
Right.
And he said, "As soon as you have that same mindset in business that you have with the women, you're not ready to get into a relationship."
Outstanding. That's great advice.
And see, I thought about that. And usually people give me this airy fairy way to determine whether or not I'm supposed to be in a relationship. But that actually gave me something tangible for me to actually reflect on and be introspective to think, wow, I'm not that committed to this part of my life yet. And until I'm ready to be that committed, I'm just going to be out here really dating casually and having to find women who also are on a casual basis as well. Now, the problem is dating casually, it's a lot of BS that comes with that pool. Not many people have $1 million in their bank account. So I know if somebody has been able to acquire $1 million in their bank account, that is not it's not just about that number. It's about the mindset it took to acquire $1 million. I could probably tell some things about you that allowed you to accrue that amount of wealth. So again, if you telling me that you've had X amount of sexual partners, I can probably assume there's a mindset that goes along with you being able to build up this many sexual partners. That probably leads back to your standards. That probably leads back to your morals. That probably leads back to your upbringing. That probably leads back to your friend groups. It leads back to where your environments are and where you've been in life. So much is connected to that. So it's not necessarily just a number.
So, what does your body count say about your upbringing, your morals, your background, and your decision?
So see, that's a 100% great question.